I was taking a bath when I heard my girlfriend's phone ring. We were in a hotel room. I had just finished doing a 12-hour run, with my girlfriend Audrey acting as my support team. She thought I was crazy for getting into ultra marathons, and I thought she was crazy for rock climbing. Looking back, maybe I was a little crazy. I definitely feel like I am now, like reality is slipping away from me, no matter how hard I try to hold on. Anyway, my body was killing me, so I was soaking in the hotel room's bathtub when Audrey's phone started ringing. At first, I didn't think anything of it. I mean, it was a little late, about 11 o'clock, but it didn't concern me. Not until I heard her speak.
Bruce?
She said, chuckling.
Are you calling me from the bathroom?
At the sound of my name, I perked up in the tub.
No,
I said, loud enough so she could hear me.
What?
Audrey said, her voice full of concern.
When did you leave the room?
I sat up confused, twisting to look toward the bathroom door. She wasn't really one for practical jokes, but that's the only thing that came to mind. She was messing with me.
hilarious.
I called out to her, settling back in the warm water.
Okay, I'll be right there,
she said. I listened as she shuffled around in the room. Moments later, I heard the room door open and then close. Silence followed. A few minutes passed before I decided to get out of the tub. I hadn't heard her come back into the room, and I was getting worried. I toweled off, grabbed my phone off the toilet lid, and moved out of the bathroom. Audrey's shoes were gone, along with her purse and, obviously, her phone. Everything else was here. She'd been wearing pajamas and had left the car keys, so it was obvious she wasn't going far. I got dressed. Minutes ticked by. I called her phone. It rang and went to voicemail. I texted her. She didn't answer. I called several more times. Nothing. She didn't come back. She never came back. Before calling the police, I called the front desk to ask if they'd seen her leave. The night shift clerk said she hadn't seen anyone fitting Audrey's description. When I got the police involved, they looked at the hotel's security footage and told me that there was no evidence she ever left the building. They saw us both come in, but not Audrey leaving. It was impossible. I demanded to see the footage. There was a camera pointed down the hallway outside our room. I watched it at normal speed for 15 minutes on either side of the time Audrey left the room. At one point, right around the time she left, the door opened, but Audrey never went out. A moment later, it closed. Impossible. The footage has been tampered with, I insisted. The detective on the case, a guy with a gray Fu Manchu mustache and a shaved head, looked at me sadly. We were in a conference room in the hotel, and it was nearly 4 a.m. I hadn't slept. I was pacing next to the long table, my feet killing me and my legs rubbery. Detective Oren sat on the edge of the table, watching me. "We're looking into it," he said. "We have tech people on the way. There are also some paramedics coming to take a look at you." "I don't need any paramedics. I'm not hurt. I'm just fucking stressed out. I want to know what happened to Audrey." "I know," Oren said. "It's just that stress can do strange things to you. I'd like them to check you out." I stopped pacing and stared into the older man's pale brown eyes. Then I looked at the uniformed officer standing outside the conference room door. "You think I had something to do with this?" I asked. "You searched my fucking room. What? Do you think I flushed her down the toilet or something?" "I know you didn't have anything to do with this, Mr. Thornton," Oren said. "But we have to do our due diligence." I resumed pacing. I couldn't figure out why she would answer the phone thinking it was me who was calling. Had she done this on purpose? Was this some elaborate plan to break up with me? I shook my head, knowing that exhaustion was doing strange things to my mind. The paramedics, a man and a woman, showed up a few minutes later. "Would you mind coming with us out to the ambulance?" the woman asked. "We just want to check your vitals." "You have an Advil or ibuprofen out there?" I asked.
Sure we do,
She said.
follow me.
The 2 paramedics led the way, while the detective stayed in the conference room. I told him I'd be right back. I thought it strange that we didn't go out the front of the hotel, but I shrugged it off. The ambulance was parked in the back, just outside a service entrance. The 2 paramedics opened the back doors and stood aside, gesturing for me to get in.
Take a seat on the gurney.
The man said. Not wanting to get too comfortable for fear of succumbing to my exhaustion, I waved him off.
I'll just sit on the bumper while you do your thing.
The 2 of them shared a look that wasn't lost on me. I told myself I was being paranoid, but then again, I had good reason. When I sat on the bumper facing out, the man got into the vehicle and started rummaging around for supplies behind me. I assumed he was looking for the painkillers I'd asked for. The woman wrapped a blood pressure monitor around my upper left arm and started inflating it. I suddenly became aware of silence from the back of the truck. The man wasn't rummaging around anymore. As I glanced over my shoulder, I saw him moving slowly toward me with a syringe in one latex-gloved hand. Shooting up from my seat and yanking the monitor out of the woman's hands, I turned and backed away.
What the fuck is that?
I asked, walking backward.
You wanted a painkiller, right?
The guy asked.
No.
I said.
Bullshit. What the fuck is that?
There was a moment of tense silence before the woman darted toward me. I turned and ran. Luckily, I had my car keys, phone, and wallet on me. I wanted to be prepared to move quickly if the police found Audrey. Now, my only thought was of getting to my car. My legs were still rubbery, but they were longer than the woman's, and I was used to running. I made it around to the front of the hotel, spotting my car in the parking lot. I could hear the woman's footfalls behind me as I jumped into the car and started the engine. She stopped directly behind my car, a Lexus sedan, and placed her hands on the trunk.
We just want to help you.
She called as I put the vehicle in reverse, the bright lights illuminating her. Behind her, I could see uniformed cops and the plainclothes detective running out of the lobby entrance. I took my foot off the brake and tapped the gas. The woman jumped out of the way just in time. As I whipped out of the parking spot, I saw the ambulance tear around the corner of the building, its headlights piercing the early morning gloom. Seeing that it was trying to cut me off, I slammed on the gas, speeding toward the exit. I flew down the shallow concrete ramp with inches to spare as the ambulance rushed past behind me. The bottom of my Lexus scraped asphalt and swerved, but I soon had it under control while doing 100 down the near-empty road. My phone buzzed in my pocket as I ripped the blood pressure sleeve off my arm. I reached for the phone, hoping against hope that it was Audrey. As I looked at the screen, my heart fell. I didn't recognize the number. But what if it was her? I couldn't not answer it. Maybe she was calling from another phone.
Hello?
I need you to turn around and come back right now.
Detective Warren said.
They tried to drug me with something.
I told him.
There's no fucking way I'm going back. Not unless you tell me what's really going on.
There was a long moment of silence from Warren.
Listen,
He said finally.
we're part of an organization that looks into these kinds of things. All we want to do is help you while we find your girlfriend, okay? If you come back, I'll tell you everything we know about this stuff. And if you don't come back, I'll have to send every cop at my disposal after you.
Tell me now.
I said.
I can't do that, Bruce. Not unless you come back.
So the paramedics were with this organization? They were with you?
Yes.
I mulled it over for a second before deciding on my answer.
Fuck you.
I said. Then I hung up, rolled down the window, and tossed the phone out. That was 2 days ago. I had to ditch my car shortly after I ditched my phone, but it was necessary. And in the 2 days since, I've been gathering information on my own. I've learned that, most years, there are over 500,000 people reported missing in the US. This includes children. I've also learned that about 99% of those missing person reports are quickly resolved. The person is found either by family members, friends, or authorities. Still, this leaves about 5,000 people who aren't found. So far, Audrey is one of them. I've been checking the state website for missing persons, and her name is still there, alongside her driver's license picture. I bought a prepaid phone and have tried to call her several times. I've called her friends, her family, and her coworkers. None of them have seen or heard from her. Audrey's parents accused me of having something to do with it. They didn't understand why I would run from the authorities if I wasn't guilty. I couldn't make them understand. Something strange is going on here, and I can't explain it. But I think I'm getting close. Pretending to be a reporter, I've called around to various police agencies to ask about missing persons. It's strange, but the cops are happy to share information on some of the people, but not all of them. I've been told about a dozen times that they can't share information about a particular case. Why? What would be the harm in telling the press about where and when a person went missing? It makes no sense. I even hired a homeless woman to call the authorities and ask about Audrey's case. They refused to share any details. What are they hiding? Soon after that call, I checked the website. They'd taken down her picture, but that's not what they do when someone is found. They leave the picture up for weeks or months with the word "resolved" right there in bold letters. They're trying to brush her disappearance under the rug, and I need to know why. I've found that if I call a police station shortly after a person is officially reported missing on their website, I can usually get the whole story before the cops start to clam up. That's how I've heard about several people going missing directly after a phone call. A man in Wyoming was last seen on the side of the road just after 10 o'clock at night. He pulled his vehicle over and was walking along the edge of the road, his phone to his ear. The witness, a passing truck driver, said the man looked terrified. According to the trucker, the man was staring at something ahead of him in the road, but the trucker didn't know what. He saw nothing there. The man's car was recovered by authorities. The deformed body of a bighorn sheep was found nearby. A woman in Wisconsin disappeared after taking a phone call in the middle of the night. Her daughter, who was awoken by her mother's conversation, stepped out into the hallway after hearing her mother pass by. She made it to the bottom of the stairs in time to see her mother walk out the back door, holding her cell phone to her ear. When the daughter went to investigate, there was no sign of her mother. There were several other reports like this, like mine. But none of this helps me. Not really. It just deepens the mystery. So I've decided to go see one of these witnesses, to talk to them, and see if they can tell me anything useful. Ever since ditching my car, I've been taking public transportation everywhere. I don't dare use my credit cards. I had to risk using my ATM card to pull out a bunch of cash, but I did so in a busy train station during rush hour. I then paid cash for a ticket on a local express. Now, I have to go to Boston to speak to a young man named Mike about his friend's disappearance at a party. The friend in question went upstairs to answer a phone call. He was never seen again. I'm sitting at a bus stop in front of a strip mall, waiting. I'll take the city bus to the train station and catch a train to Boston from there. It's just after 9 at night. Traveling under the cover of darkness makes me feel better. I'm alone at the bus stop, although cars filled with strangers pass on the street. The second prepaid phone I've bought in as many days sits in my pocket. No one has the number, which is why it's strange to feel it buzz in my pocket. I pull it out. The number is blocked. It just says unknown number. After all I've heard about people going missing after answering mysterious phone calls, I hesitate, but only for a second. If it will help me understand what happened to Audrey, it's worth the risk. But in reality, it's probably just a robocall or something about my car's extended warranty. I swipe up and answer the phone.
Bruce?
Standing up from the bench, I suck in a breath at the sound of Audrey's voice.
Audrey, is that really you?
It's me.
She says on the verge of crying.
Oh my God, I've been so scared.
Where are you, baby?
I'm in the car behind you.
She says. My stomach drops at her words. I turn around, looking into the strip mall parking lot. There's a car sitting there, one that wasn't there before. It doesn't have any side mirrors, and the glass is so dark, it looks completely black.
Come here.
Audrey says. But it's not Audrey. I know that. It can't be.
What's happening?
I say. Looking around, it seems eerily silent around me now.
Come here, please, Bruce. I'm in the back.
I shake my head, but I step toward the car anyway. There's no door handle on the front passenger door, but there is one on the back door. I still can't see through the windows. Reaching out with my left hand, I open the back door and crouch to look inside. Audrey's sitting there on the other side, looking out the window. Her dark hair and the angle of her head prevent me from seeing her face, but I would know her from anywhere.
Babe?
I say, still knowing this is some kind of trick.
Audrey? Come on, let's go.
Sit with me.
Audrey says over the phone. The Audrey in the car doesn't move. Her chin doesn't bob. I realize she doesn't even have a phone. Both her hands are in her lap.
What the fuck?
I say just as Audrey's head turns to reveal her face. Gasping, I lurch backward, unable to comprehend what's wrong with her. She doesn't have a mouth above her chin. She doesn't have anything there. Just a yawning black void that goes on forever. I slam the door, dropping my phone and stumbling away. There's no more traffic passing on the road. In fact, the road looks completely different. The buildings bordering it are silent, hulking warehouses, pressed up against each other and seeming to go on forever. I run along the sidewalk, legs suddenly stiff and uncoordinated. It's all I can do to keep my balance. Coming to an intersection, I glance around frantically, fighting the mounting panic threatening to overwhelm me. There's a phone booth next to a bus stop to my right. A man in a suit and fedora talks on the phone, facing away from me. I run up to the booth and bang on the door. I can't hear what the man is saying. It seems as if he's just standing in there with the phone to his ear. He turns and looks at me. A black void is where his mouth should be. He still has the phone to his ear, and several colorful wires protrude from the black void, snaking into the telephone. As I stand, frozen in terror, the wires pull out of the receiver and disappear into that black void. The man hangs up the telephone handset without looking and then opens the door. I take 2 stiff steps back as the man moves out of the booth. He pauses as his eyes widen. Then he doubles over and retches, spewing some sort of chunky black liquid out of his knot mouth. When he's done, he straightens, turns, and walks down the sidewalk. I look down at the liquid, seeing that there are severed wires and human teeth in the black puddle. Staring down at the puddle, I can't help but think about what Detective Oren said when he called me just after I made my escape. About his being a part of an organization that looks into things like this. Was this what he was talking about? Or have I just gone completely insane? Maybe he could have helped me. Maybe he could have prevented this. Looking up from the puddle, I cry out as I see I'm surrounded by these things. The things without mouths. They stand a good 10 yards away on the sidewalk and in the street, staring at me. There are dozens of them, resembling a wide array of men and women and children.
What do you want?
I cry.
What the hell is this?
They move in unison, closing in on me. I move backward, my shoes scraping the teeth in the puddle along the concrete. I get into the phone booth and shut the door. Sure enough, they're surrounding me, pressing their awful faces up against the glass, dead eyes staring in at me. Audrey is among them, pushing on the door while I try to keep it closed. I'm not nearly strong enough. They push it open and crowd in, Audrey leading the way. Wires shoot out of their mouths like arrows. I scream as they pierce the skin of my face. They slither down my throat, choking me. I feel the wires digging through my body, rupturing organs and causing massive internal bleeding. But I also feel them taking something important from me, sucking it out of me like liquid through a straw. It's so much worse than the unspeakable pain racking my body. This feeling of being drained of myself, of being robbed of me, of being violated, eliminated, erased. And when they've taken it all, the wires pull me apart from the inside out. You've just experienced a clash with SCP-7436. Listen to more gruesome, horrific, and strange stories like this on my SCP Experience podcast. From run-ins with regular people to to riding along with the shadowy organization whose job it is to hunt down SCPs, there's plenty of fun to be had with the SCP experience. The link is in the show notes below. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy these stories, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out some more of my episodes here.